Welcome to the podcast. Súbele volumen. Conversation with the people who were with me. In the world TV. Carlos Tonight. Carlos Tonight. Historias de un reportero. Carlos Tonight. Carlos Tonight. Dale que viene lo bueno.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I have another exciting show for you today. But before I introduce my guest, I want to invite you to check me out every other Wednesday. We have brand new episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and now on YouTube. You can actually watch us now, which is awesome. And I want to also invite you to visit CarlosTonightPodcast.com. That's where you can find more information on the podcast, see upcoming guests, and of course, check out past episodes. So I'm excited for this week's guest. He was my photographer in my reporting days in San Diego, California at CW6. He is known around the market as the Big LiVecchi. I'm very happy to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, to Jason LiVecchi. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Carlos? Nice to see you.
Cool. Can you believe it's been like 4 years since we last worked together as photographer and reporter?
I can't believe it. Number one, I can't believe I'm looking at you right now. I feel like we've talked on the phone a lot, but I don't think we've FaceTimed in probably, I haven't seen you in a year at least, I think. I mean, we talk on the phone probably once every couple of weeks at least, but it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's been a long year and a half with the pandemic.
Right.
What have you been up to since the pandemic started?
Oh, the pandemic's been fun. I'm working at KUSI still. That's been a fun gig.
And for our listeners and viewers who don't know what KUSI is, it's a TV station in San Diego. Right.
So, there's usually, the main stations are NBC, CBS, Fox, and ABC. Then there was the CW in some stations, the one we worked at, CW San Diego. And then there's some other, independent stations. I think KCAL is one. I think is KCAL in Los Angeles an independent? It's just an independent station. We've got a CNN affiliation. We cover all the major news stories from beginning to end. We've got our morning couch show, just like everybody else, before we go into like syndicated national programming. And then we have our afternoon shows. And then we've got our 11 o'clock news, just like everybody else. But instead of like going to David Letterman or David Letterman, Jimmy Kimmel and whoever else is out there now. We wind up just going to like more syndicated shows that we purchase, like the Family Feud or, reruns of Simpsons, Seinfeld, Big Bang Theory, so we'll wind up doing stuff like that. But we're at every major event, and I've covered every major event in San Diego. That's actually one of the perks about working for a local independent station is you get to go to everything because usually they're kind of more on a smaller crew. And if it's the big story of the day and you're there, you don't have to compete with too many people. You're there, the president's in town, you're covering it and you're going there and you're covering it for the local news, our stations, and that's what KUSI is.
So let's talk about CW6 where I met you.
Do it. Yeah.
So I started in March of 2017.
Okay.
And I moved to San Diego from Bakersfield, California, where I was a reporter.
Okay.
And I think it was you were at the desk, the assignment desk.
I was probably transitioning like between the two.
Yeah, you were transitioning. Yes.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know what an assignment desk is, tell us what it is.
Assignment editor, assignment manager, content coordinator, all the synonymous names for the same role. And it's someone who sits in the middle of the newsroom. Usually it's like literally an elevated position, like on a desk that's like a couple of steps above everyone, probably because they have to yell out, fire on First Avenue, officer involved shooting downtown. So everybody can hear at the exact same time. And their role is, 8-hour shifts. There's the 3 to 4 a.m. shift, noon, the 9 to 5, and then the 3 p.m. to midnight shift. And you listen to the scanners. That is like kind of getting a little dated, but not really, because when breaking news does happen, first responders are still using the scanners. So if there's a fire, they are going to talk to the scanner. So we're going to get some crucial information from that. So we listen to the scanners for anything. There's kind of rumbling in the background for any kind of, kind of nervous panic yelling between firefighters or direct information, like for instance, a fire on a street or a shooting or anything like a robbery or a car chase. We're also rifling through emails where we get, probably at our peak hours, between 9 to 5, maybe 20, 25 emails an hour, maybe even more than that, because you have all the elected officials and you're just taking this information and you're organizing it in our kind of like a calendar system. And you're taking it, like, for instance, there's like probably overall, maybe in our region, there's probably like 75, maybe plus elected officials that are always like sending emails. My council or their press conference, their press guy is like, my council member is going to be at the new supermarket opening up. Will you want to cover it? Or, the chief of police is going to be at, it's called like Coffee with Cops. He's going to be at like a coffee shop downtown to meet with people. And like, it's a kind of a PR event, but it's also a community neighborhood event too. So that's kind of the brass tacks of it. And
I can't imagine how stressful that may be to somebody, to an editor.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it gets stressful. You want to know what honestly makes it stressful is, at least for me, because I got a pretty good handle on the job. Was working with working with the people that get stressed. The producers and the reporters and the photogs. When I was like, I'm a photog, but like if they get stressed, then it kind of gets me a little bit unnerved. But for the most part, I usually kept my cool because I knew how to handle it. I learned from great people. I worked at NBC. That's where I first started.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I worked at NBC in San Diego for 4 years, and I learned from some cool people there.
Do you remember like a story that you and I covered? I'll tell you mine, and then you can think about it. I remember the one story that we covered was a dog heat type of story where we had to do a live shot in the back studio of CW6 in San Diego in the parking lot, and we used my car for the live shot. Do you remember this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And we did our live shot, and I remember it was like, I don't know, like over 100 degrees maybe. It was so hot. And I think it was hot because I was wearing like my usual shirt and tie type of thing.
Like a suit maybe, right?
Like a suit, yeah. Because a lot of people don't realize that whether it's cold or hot, we're still wearing our tie and our stuff.
Right.
Nowadays, I noticed that a lot of reporters don't do that, like the guys. They're either wearing like a polo or just a shirt.
That's cool. Yeah, it's comfortable.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my story that I remember.
What happened on that story? Anything special, or was it just a typical package?
It was just a random, not a random, a standard story, like a typical. But I do remember watching it and saying to myself, "Man, I look so short," and the reason is because you're so tall.
Right.
How tall are you?
I think I'm 6'2" or 6'3".
Okay, so then you were like towering over me.
Oh my God!
Do I look really that small?
Did you like it or did you not like it?
No, I liked it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I feel like in every TV station that I've worked at, I used something personal of mine.
Right.
My car, like my roommate's dog once.
No, you put together a good package. I loved working with you, man. There was a couple of things. Like I'm trying to remember. I know one. I can remember one specific one. I was impressed that you got the 9 to 5 gig. You were great. Like you were good enough to go dayside. Like it's a pretty coveted position. So you had the 9 to 5 gig. But I do remember when we went to Ace Hardware. I don't think it was the same story. It wasn't the same because it was a heat related.
Was it?
Was it the same story? We had to go. No, they were running out of air conditioning.
That's what it was, yeah.
For the heat wave.
We were in Hillcrest at the hardware store?
Yeah, and I was just like, where do you want to go? Like, let's just go to Ace Hardware. We'll just talk to people there. They might talk to us. And yeah, it was a shortage on air conditioning units, I think.
Yeah, that must have been like a heat wave that happened in San Diego, right?
Did you work by yourself most of the time? Because you were an MMJ there.
I was an MMJ, multimedia journalist, where I got my assignment in the morning, went out, shot it, and then when I went live, I went with a photographer. Right.
And not like, because we weren't paired together for hours at a time, because you did both. You were like talented to do, you know, the shooting, the editing, everything yourself. And like, and I was always paired with somebody who didn't know how to do that. But that's why we didn't. That's why.
But sometimes we did work together.
Yeah, no, for sure. We were.
And I love those days.
We were in the newsroom together all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why we don't have so many like memories together, because you were doing your own stories and I was doing my own stories. And but yeah, we definitely went to Hillcrest together at that Ace Hardware for the air conditioning units. We were in the car, if you remember, in traffic. We were trying to race down to a fire or something together. I remember on the 15. You know, it might have been like, who knows? But
I think most of our memories are the things that happened after work.
Yeah.
Which was, and I remember us going to a J Balvin concert.
Yeah, that was fun.
Before he was J Balvin.
Okay, is that? I don't even remember who that was, but it was on Shelter Island, right?
Yes. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It was a cool time.
And then we definitely went to a lot of movies together.
Yeah, you were my movie buddy.
Yeah.
You know.
But we did go to, what was your favorite movie theater? The one downtown?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, I liked Fashion Valley. You know,
Okay.
You want to know? Actually, not that I could talk about my favorite movie. I liked the Fashion Valley movie theater because it was nice and it reminded me of my movie theater from back home. It was in the mall, you know, so it was just like I grew up going to the mall. I love them. I'm like a mall rat, you know. It's like drop me off at the mall, hang out there, go see a movie. That was great, and you were a buddy of mine who did that with me, which is amazing. But you want to know something? We downtown, what we saw downtown, if you remember, we saw one of the. We don't gonna go down. We don't want to go down this road too much. I don't know if you do, but we saw the Trump-Hillary debate there. Do you remember that?
I was just thinking that.
Okay, right. They were airing it live, and it was free. But we saw there. It was the one. So listen to this. We're in San Diego. We're a border city. You can't get any more border city than San Diego, California, when it comes to like the Mexican-U.S. border. And we're watching Hillary and Trump debate on a big screen TV in a pretty crowded theater, not packed, but it was crowded. And it was the one where Trump was talking about the border, and he's like, "Oh, there's some bad hombres there, man. There's some bad."
Yeah.
Trump said there's bad hombres in Mexico, and it was Mexicans. It was legit Mexican Americans were the majority of the crowd because that's what San Diego is. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was awesome. I can't believe I was there for that. And he's like, "There's some bad hombres coming from Mexico," and I was like, and then everybody laughed, and he won the election. It was 2016, and he won. And
then another thing that we did together a lot was ComicCon.
Love it, dude. I could talk about it.
So CW6. I think I did most of the reporting. Well, not just me, but
right.
I did a lot of ComicCon stories. The first one I remember. I think it was just a couple of months after I started.
Okay.
And I was just amazed. This huge event, this worldwide event that I got a chance to cover, and everybody was cosplaying. Back then, I didn't know what cosplaying was.
Okay.
And I was like, man, there's like all these people out here having fun, talking about the things that I love.
Nice.
Comic books, TV, movie, and all that stuff. Do you have a favorite memory of Comic-Con?
Honestly, Carlos, hanging out with you is probably up there. You know, like hanging out with you. So my mom, I've been living in San Diego for 14 years now, and you know I've gone to probably 10 Comic-Cons and a bunch of other comic conventions. You know, Seattle and pop culture conventions in Vegas and Los Angeles. But I remember walking around with you was awesome. 1 year, my mother happened to be out here for the summer for the vacation. It was Comic-Con week, and I remember it was like we were kids again because I remember when we needed to go find, like, my mother just got into town and she was driving to visit my sister, and we both of us like hopped in the car together, all three of us. Right? She picked us up. She gave us a ride to Comic-Con. She like picked us up and gave me a ride to like I was like probably 34 at the time or 35. I don't even know. And because it was like, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, and she like you hopped in the car. My niece and nephews, what do you call them? Like baby seats or
boosters?
No, boosters, car seats, like kid car seats. You had to like squeeze in between them, you know. And I was like, this is kind of like reminding me of. Like, yeah. I was like, that's so funny that like my mom is picking me up with my buddy. to go to some event and to drop us off.
Weren't you like, Mom, hurry up, we got a thing to go to?
Yeah, I remember she was lagging. Like ComicCon's intense to me.
They're like, let's go, Mom.
Right.
Oh yeah, I remember. We found parking.
Yeah, good parking. And then it was cool.
Cool. Okay. So tell us a little bit. You kind of mentioned you're not from San Diego originally. Tell us where you grew up and how you got involved in TV.
First of all, this is kind of fun to talk to you about this. Like, I hope this has like.
I don't think I've ever heard the story.
I can't believe we ever talked about this. I can't believe we're talking on Zoom right now, like as if we're, changing the world here. It's funny, but so I graduated college. Went to good University of Scranton. I'm from originally Staten Island, New York City. But I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, no doubt about it. I mean, like I was in kindergarten when we were renting a house first, and then we bought the house by the time I was like probably 3 or 4. And I just finished college, and I was just like, okay, I was working at a really nice hotel through college, and I interned at a local NBC during college as well, and I actually wrote for a couple articles for the local newspaper, and I would just wound up just being like, well, if I'm gonna look for jobs across the country, and I'm gonna work at the hotel, may as well just get a job in San Diego at a hotel and just look for jobs in TV news in San Diego. I mean, that was honestly the main answer. And I packed my bags. My mom sat in shotgun. We put my bike in the back seat. We booked a one-way flight home. We drove across the country. That's a whole other story in itself. And then I got to San Diego, and I was a tour guide for the first 3 years. I loved it. That was super fun because I was waiting. Actually, I was a tour guide for 3 years, but I actually got my first job out here like less than like a year and a half later. NBC then hired me as to work as like a floor director, studio cam op. After like a year and a half, that's why I got my foot in the door at the NBC station down here. But the reason why I moved to San Diego is simply that I was just working at a nice hotel. I interned. Something. There is something. I applied to be a page at Rockefeller Center, New York City. That's what I thought my path was. But for some reason, I missed the deadline. But they still honored to have an interview with me. And the way they hired pages, if you ever watched 30 Rock, it was Kenneth. It was Kenny. From 30 Rock. He's a page. She brought me in because the woman that was doing the hiring was friends with somebody I was friends with from high school, or my friend, I think my sister's friend. And she's like, you know what? She's like, we already hired this group because they hire in groups of 10. It's a program. She's like, we're already in week 3 or week 4. But she's like, why don't you come in and I'll meet you? And I was like, all right. So I drove in there. I met her. I got actually a tour of Rockefeller Center. I got a tour of all that stuff. She walked me around the whole thing. She's like, I told you already, we hire in programs. It's usually every 3 or 4 months. So she's like, I can't bring you on now. She's like, we're already got the program going, but why don't you reapply? Maybe we can get things going maybe in 3 or 4 months. And then I'll start doing interviews and stuff in 3 or 4 months. Then we'll hire after that. So I was 6 months, post college, living back at my mom's house. It's I'll just move to San Diego in the time being. And then I got out here and I enjoyed being a tour guide, got hired at NBC less than a year and a half later, so I was like,
you're living the life.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm still living it kind of,
That's cool.
Well, thank you for asking, Carlos. How did you wind up in San Diego?
How did I wind up? Oh, so I was working in Bakersfield, California. Okay, I got to rewind.
Go ahead.
So this is how I became a TV reporter.
Okay.
It was my last semester at Columbia College, and it was a little bit after 9/11, and I did not hear back from the internship coordinator. And so my sister was working at NBC in Chicago, and I asked her for some help. And so she went upstairs to the HR lady, or the volunteer coordinator or internship coordinator. And she's like, hey, my brother applied. He hasn't heard anything. And then the lady's like, well, I have this pile. And then there's this huge pile of applications from college students who wanted to be interns.
Nice.
And so then they're like, let's look for his application. And this is the story that my sister told me. And so they were on the floor looking through applications, and she literally found mine, pulled it out, and said, okay, you can start on Monday, and then handed it to her.
Nice.
And so that's how I got my internship. And so then I started working. Once the door was open, I kind of worked hard to the point where they hired me. I worked there for a year and then did the whole create my my resume reel,
Cool.
sent it out.
Cool.
So anyway, I through different TV stations. I think San Diego was my 1, 2, 3, like my sixth, maybe. Yeah, my sixth station.
Got ya.
And so I worked as a news director, anchor
That's amazing.
in El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
And after being the boss for 3 years, I was like, I can't. Like, I want to be a reporter.
Wow. Okay.
So I sent my tapes out again. That's how I ended up in Bakersfield, California.
Okay.
And then after 2.5 years, I was like, man, I need to move up. And I started applying, and I didn't hear anything. And then finally, I got a call from Don Schaefer, the news director. He brought me down, and I did the interview. He's like, "I'll let you know."
Wow.
And I said, "Okay." And I was thinking on the drive back to Bakersfield, I'm like, I don't think I got it.
What? Okay.
So then I waited, did my job, and then they said, and then he called me and then offered me the job.
Whoa.
And then I was so excited. I was like, I can start Monday. Well, 2 weeks from there. And so then I remember I signed off on a Friday night, and then I literally just packed. And then by Monday, I was at CW6 in San Diego.
That makes me so happy and sad because it closed.
Yeah, the station closed. What was it? 65? 60-something years. I can't remember.
Yeah.
No, 64, I think.
So, yeah. 64.
So in 2017, the station closed. So everyone lost their jobs. I ended up in Sacramento, California, working for the CBS. And then you ended up KUSI.
Yeah, I took it.
And then you got a nickname. I want to hear the story on how you got the nickname the Big LiVecchi.
Yeah.
And so a lot of viewers out there know you as that.
They do. It kind of became this little like local kind of this, I don't know, it kind of caught fire a little bit, but it was, San Diego's got a pretty local following of viewers, and it's the local station that everyone wants to get a lot of people want to get their information from. And there's a guy, I have to mention his name. He's awesome. His name is Dave Scott, and he's a meteorologist, reporter, does feature stuff, does the morning couch show where he goes out live at like the 5Ks, and like San Diego is a big enough city where there's an event almost every day. And on the weekends we work together, and there's always an event that we would cover. And he usually gives the Photogs nicknames. He gives a lot of Photogs nicknames just because he's on air from, for 8-9 minutes straight, and that's a long, long time to be on air just talking to people at the Rock and Roll Marathon or the San Diego Marathon or a surfing competition, or just like downtown farmers market, something like that. That's like a Christmas tree.
That's a lot of work,
dude. It's a ton of work. And like, so he always gives the Photogs props. He was always like, hey, I'm working with a guy before me who was like called Will, so he called him like Wonderful Will. And it was funny. And then like I was like, when I came out, they're like, you want to work with Dave? And I was like, I'll work with Dave. That seems like a cool gig. And we went out there, and he was calling me Jason all the time. And he was like, Jason, dude, like he was like, Jason, I'm going out with Jason today, or Jason this. And he started talking about it. But an anchor's name was Jason Ostel, who actually we worked with at the CW together with, if you remember. Mm-hmm. I also worked with him at NBC. Coincidentally, we both we worked together at NBC, but we didn't work together because he was the morning show and I was the evening. And we were there, and every time they would say Jason, it would cut to a 2-shot, and he wouldn't be talking to Jason Ostel. So the director would just be like doing its thing, and like all of a sudden you hear Jason, so he'd cut to the 2-shot, and Jason would be like sitting there like maybe reading scripts or texting or whatever, because he's expecting this 10-minute period where he's not on air, and they'd be like, oh, he's talking about Jason. So we got to get your last name. You got to change that to something. So he's like LiVecchi. And then all of a sudden it was like, who are you going out with? He's like, the Big LiVecchi? You're like, yeah, I'm the Big LiVecchi. And they started being like like he started calling me Big LiVecchi. I'm with the Big LiVecchi at this event. I'm with the Big LiVecchi at the tree lighting ceremony. I'm with the Big LiVecchi at this, everything, everything. I was out, they were calling me the Big LiVecchi at car crashes and fires. I'm like, all of a sudden all the reporters started calling, like, they was like part of their toss to their package. They were just like, or they're covering the live event. They're like, if the Big LiVecchi could pan over here, if the Big LiVecchi could show this. And then believe it or not, I started getting like emails and texts like, who's this Big LiVecchi dude? And they were like wanting to see me. So then all of a sudden one day I was walking in the studio and they're like, yo, LiVecchi. I was like, what's up? They're like, come out in the green screen. People are asking who you are. So I went out there and I waved and I said hello to people, and it's all just fun. And then it just kept on going and going. And now every once in a while when I'm with my camera out there and like I'm at the like the store and I'm like next to my news van, it says the call letters KUSI. People come to me like, are you the Big LiVecchi? I go, yeah, I'm the Big LiVecchi. And I promise you, they go, I got to take a selfie with you so people can know like I met you. And I was like, all right. So it's funny. And then every once in a while on Facebook, Facebook has that like facial recognition thing. I'll see a random selfie of me that I'll pop up. Yeah. And I'll be like, oh, that was a dude that like took the picture with me that posted it, because like, it's like, and this might be when it's got no connection to me at all, but I'll just be like a picture of me with them. And I actually kind of boycotted social media, not boycotted, but I kind of stopped posting probably 5 years ago, just because I was like, I made that decision. I didn't make a big deal about it. I'm just going to stop posting. And, but that's what happened. So that's kind of how it started getting going. And, it just went from there. And then I just started putting together like my own stories, they're called natural packages. And I started just going, and that is my favorite thing to do, is just to go out. And I just put together the mini documentary, and it's just fantastic. So even then I still like, oh, the Big LiVecchi's putting a story together about this, about that. And, I've covered stuff. I was like, I might be like talking a little bit, not about the Big LiVecchi stuff, but I covered stuff for like CNN before, which was awesome. Like I was the first on scene for a shooting at CNN, and they didn't take me live, but I was the only one there with live capabilities because it just happened to be on my shift. And I got there, it was a church shooting, and someone lost their lives, and it was pretty horrible. Like, but I was the first one there, and I got the information out, which was my job is. It's like the first responders were doing their thing, and I was the one feeding back to CNN, to get my information out. And they took my story and they took it, right there. I was asking questions and trying to get as much information as possible. MOSs, man on the streets, like pretty much eyewitnesses or ear witnesses. People heard the gunshots. People ran out of the church. People were friends with the woman that was shot. People were friends with the rabbi that was shot. So that was all part of it. And, the rest is, still in progress. But thanks.
I wonder if people think like, because you as a photographer see a lot of stuff that normal people wouldn't see.
Yeah.
Shootings.
So do you. Yeah.
Yeah. Having to knock on people's doors so they just lost a loved one and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are you able to kind of stop thinking about it as soon as your shift is over? Or does that continue on during the night?
The stuff that I cover, a lot of time I want to get. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm worried about like making sure I do a good job. Being respectful, do a good job. Like personal stories that have affected me. Like I get emotional. Like for instance, I did a good nap package, natural package, with it was a nursing home where their family members haven't been able to see each other for months because of COVID. This was probably like they were probably like 6 months into COVID where they had to shut all the nursing homes down. So what they did is they had a reunion team where they put like people across the street, they taped it off so their family, which are elderly folks, could come out and wave and just say hello to their kids and their grandkids. And I got a little choked up because like the people were like, I haven't seen my mom in 6 months. This is my first time like laying eyes on her. That got me a little bit emotional. I was like, so that was emotional. And then another thing, you're not going to believe this, Carlos. And I never really admitted this. I got choked up I think I sent you that picture where we covered ComicCon not happening in San Diego. So I was lucky enough to be at the convention center during Comic-Con week because it was 2020, Comic-Con, COVID, canceled. And yeah, and we were there, and it was myself and a reporter, and I'm, just shooting the empty building, and we got a soundbite, or we did an interview with like the convention director about how it didn't happen. We got maybe a couple of like interviews of people on the street. And as we were sitting there between our live hits, between our like 5 o'clock live hit and our 6 o'clock live hit, I promise you, Carlos, I've got the picture. I should send it to you. A couple comes walking by in cosplay. And I was like, oh my God, there's people here in like one of them. They were dressed as like the Mad Hatter and maybe like Harley Quinn or something like that. And I was like, what are they doing? And we hopped out. I was like, what are you guys doing? They drove down from LA because they were such big fans of Comic-Con.
I think I remember you telling me this. Yeah.
And I got like chills. I don't know. It's just a joyful place for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it's like I'm not alone. It's like I'm not alone with like how upset people were. And like that's what really hit me. It was like middle of COVID. A lot of stuff was going on in everyone's lives, including my own, because of what was going on. And I just remember I took a selfie with them, with both of them. And I was just like, so that affected me. It's how my year is set up. You got the holidays in December, and then you got Comic-Con in the summer, and then you've got mini conventions and mini holidays, between Christmas and Comic-Con. And
now they have a museum out there, right, in San Diego?
Yeah, I've been to the museum. It's the old sports museum. I've been to I covered that actually when they were opening it up.
I covered it when they were thinking about doing it.
Was that with me and you, maybe?
Maybe.
It could have been.
Yeah.
So, but
Cool.
yes, Comic-Con is great. It's upsetting that it's not here, but we're all dealing with stuff. People are dealing with worse stuff than a convention not being open.
Okay, let's do a little quiz.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to name some TV shows, characters, and you tell me which one you like better and then why, okay? So the first one is Star Trek or Star Wars, and why?
Just right off the bat, Star Wars, and I would go Star Wars, even though I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I've seen probably most of them. I've seen 1 or 2 Star Trek movies. I know you're a huge Trek fan. One of my favorite movies, if like up there, is Trekkies, though. The documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
It's been a long time since it's been out, but like Trekkies is probably one of my favorite documentaries. So
I think you should watch Star Trek Discovery.
Is it? Okay.
That's
What's your okay? So I would say Star Wars, but like I said, I can't. I'm a bigger Jurassic Park fan than Star Wars fan. But I would say Star Wars by a little bit, but Trekkies is such. You want to know why I like Trekkies? It's about conventions. It's about Trek conventions, and I like conventions. So anyway, what's yours?
I had a ringtone once, and it was R2-D2 from Star Wars, and somebody said, "I thought you liked Star Trek," and I'm like, "I do, but there's no fun like ringtones that Star Trek makes, that Star Trek makes." Like
the Stardate log, whatever the heck.
Yeah.
Is,
and you can hardly hear it, so I'm like, you can hear R2-D2, and then people know what it is. So my favorite is Star Trek.
Why? I never understood why.
I think I fell in love with Star Trek during Voyager.
Okay.
Star Trek Voyager, female captain, all the different characters on there, different races, cultures, and all that stuff.
Oh, right on.
I think that kind of sucked me in. And then just hearing their stories. I like Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Not like a big Deep Space Nine fan. I was more of a Voyager person. And then what else? And then I loved all the Star Trek Generation movies.
Okay.
In fact, I saw Star Trek Generations 7 times.
Get out of here.
And I remember I would drag my friends, like each individual ones, because they're like, I don't want to go.
So wait, could I watch it somewhere? Is it streaming? Like, if it's one of your favorite movies, I want to check it out. If you like it,
I think you can check it out on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't think I have it, but
all right. So let's move on to Wonder Woman or Batgirl.
I don't know much about Batgirl. Shoot, I mean, Wonder Woman is so in vogue right now, and like. My older sister, I have memories of my older sister really liking Wonder Woman. The one with Like, is it Gore Vidal? Is that how you say her? Not Gore Vidal.
Yeah, I don't know.
The main Wonder Woman. That was a good movie. That was a great movie. The
The
first
recent one with the scene in the mall.
I didn't see the recent one.
Okay.
I only saw the Wonder Woman that came out in what 2018, something like that.
Yeah, that one was good. I was kind of disappointed with the second one, but the
Yeah,
first
that's what
one
everyone
was good.
said, and like the rest, I didn't even watch it. But Wonder Woman, by because I know more about her, and my sister was a big fan of Wonder Woman. She had like a Wonder Woman lunchbox growing up.
Did you watch Linda Carter as Wonder Woman?
Sure, she's 7 years older than me, so I
Okay.
remember whatever she was into it. Why she was into it. I have memories of her being into it. So
Yeah, okay.
there's my answer. What about you?
This one was kind of up in the air, but I would say Batgirl.
Wow.
I grew up watching reruns of like Batman the series with Adam West and Burt Ward as Robin.
Okay.
And then I think it was the last season when they brought in Batgirl.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I took a picture not too long ago. They have a mural in Dallas, Texas of Batgirl because the actress Yvonne Craig used to live in this area. So they dedicated a mural to her.
How's the mural? Nice.
Yeah, I love it. It's good.
Big? Small?
Huge.
Where is it?
It's in a neighborhood that I can't remember. Oak Cliff.
Is it like on the side of a building, the bridge?
It's on the side of a business. I think it was a restaurant. I don't remember.
Okay. It's fun.
But anyway, it looks good.
Cool.
Good to visit. All right. Next on my list is Captain America or Captain Hook.
I mean, it's not even a question. Like Captain Hook. I mean, Hook.
Me too.
Hook is one of the best movies ever. So I can go on and on about my love of Captain Hook. I came in order to begin.
Okay, The Connors or The Simpsons?
The Simpsons have such a place in my heart because I remember watching the first episodes on the Tracy Ullman show when I was like,
yes, I remember that too.
8 or 9. I was like 8 or 9.
On
And
Fox, yeah.
my brother was a big, pop culture fan. He liked The Simpsons, so I was at the whim of whatever he wanted to watch on TV. And we didn't have cable growing up. We didn't get cable until I was like 15 or not even 15, probably like 17, 16. I don't even remember. So whatever was on network TV is what we watched. The news, the morning shows. But like this, so The Simpsons by a long shot. I mean, going to see Matt Groening at ComicCon was like almost like closing a chapter because I don't watch The Simpsons that much anymore. I like Family Guy still though, but The Simpsons I don't watch as much. But it kind of was like it was very moving to be like to see all the actors or all the voice guys doing their thing. I was in the presence of them.
I like King of the Hill.
Yeah, King of the Hill was good too. That came out later on. That was Beavis and Butthead though, if you remember.
Yeah.
That was like kind of like a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead because that was Beavis and Butthead's neighbor, Hank Hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it's all Mike Judge, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
do you remember that saying that Bart Simpson used to say something about his butt? Like kiss my butt or something?
Yeah, well there was eat my shorts.
Eat my shorts, okay.
But there was don't have a cow man.
Yeah.
I
remember wearing a Bart Simpson shirt that said like eat my shorts or something.
Yeah.
And I remember I got in trouble and then the teacher pulled me aside and then had me turn my shirt inside out.
That's legit.
And I was like so embarrassed the whole day because I'm like.
But you didn't know it was your mom who bought you the T-shirt, probably.
Yeah, or my dad.
Yeah.
Okay. Little Baby or Da Baby?
Am I supposed to know who these people are?
They're rappers, and I only know Da Baby.
Tell me, who do you like and why?
Well, okay. To be totally honest, I've never heard of Little Baby or his music. Okay. Maybe I did and I didn't realize it. Okay. As far as Da Baby, I only know him from a song that I learned from TikTok.
Okay.
Or that I heard on TikTok.
I love TikTok.
Yeah. And so I was looking it up. I'm like, are there any artists with the name Baby? And there's a whole bunch. So I just picked the most two popular ones and figured maybe he'll know, but no. All right, cool. Any advice for future photographers, young journalists who are in college right now, thinking about entering the job market?
Find the lightest camera possible and shoot with the light camera. That would help out a lot. I mean, like hopefully technology is
For
getting
one of these guys.
Yeah, or a phone. But that's kind of like a technical thing. The truth is, in the beginning, I said yes to everything, and I'm still in the beginning. I've been in this business for well over a decade. I mean, if you add it all up, closer to well over a decade, maybe 15 years, maybe. But so I said yes to everything in the beginning, and if you really want to, you have to work the 3 a.m. shift. I work the midnight to 8 a.m. shift. So that's at the beginning, and what else are you doing? You got all this energy anyway when you're in your mid 20s and after college. So that's good advice for people at the beginning stages. Don't learn. I'm trying to think what's the best advice for really someone stepping into it. It's a hurry up and wait game. So appreciate the moment, because a lot of times you hurry up and you get to a story and you're just waiting around for hours and hours. And it's not about, it's like looking back, trying to get my foot in the door. And now that I'm on the inside, it's like you think movies, TV, Hollywood, it's all the same. It's not covering local news. You have to have a passion for it. You have to have a passion for, you have to care about what you're going to do, no matter what. I remember there was a guy that I worked with and he was trying to get out in the field and he's like, yeah, but he was being stubborn about it. He's like, and he wasn't even out in the field yet. He's like, yeah, but I'm not going to cover any fires or car crashes. That's going to be I refuse to do that. And I was like, then you don't want to be out in the field. That's the answer. So just know that you have to have a passion for whatever you're doing. You really have to. And if it's not, that's fine. Then move on. Some people don't want to be in the field. Some people like working at the station. But for photographers, that's a good motivational thing. And a specific thing is spray the scene proper. You don't do anything less than 15 shots. Make sure you have if you're going to do a package, it's got to be probably twice that much. Make sure you get the wide shot. Don't be afraid to take it off the tripod and get in there, but make sure you have your standard wide, a couple of wides from different angles, a couple of mediums from different angles of a scene, and a couple of tights so that'll cover your butt. And then, if you get on the scene and stuff's going on, but if you walk on the scene, you don't have to do it in any particular order, because if you walk on the scene and it's active, you got to get what you need to get. But if it's inactive, then you can get all the stuff. But if it's active, get everything you can get off shoulder, get the scene, or get the action, and then take it back a notch. And you have to become almost like a wedding photographer. I've never done wedding photography though. You just got to get you got to say this. You got to set the scene. You got to get an establishing shot, and then get what's going on. And don't overshoot. Some people shoot too much, so I don't want to be careful. You don't want 50 shots for a story that's going to be 20 seconds long. It's going to have 3 shots. That's a waste of time and energy. So you have to know too. But that's my.
I always wanted to be a reporter. I didn't want to be an anchor, and a lot of my fellow classmates wanted to be anchors. And even in my career, a lot of reporters just wanted to be on the desk, and I never had that desire. I always wanted to be out in the field. And then another thing you said about photography, I used to work with a guy who I won't name, at one of my stations, and I was brand new, and I went to edit my piece, and all the shots were really far away.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, I need some variety.
Right.
And so I made the mistake of saying, hey, do you mind getting some close-up shots next time? And I didn't know if I sounded nastier or whatnot, because the next day I worked with him, and all my shots were close-ups.
That's funny. He wasn't doing it out of spite, was he? Or he just thought you want what you wanted?
He was probably being a jerk.
What? No way. Oh, dude, come on.
But then we became friends, frenemies almost.
Okay.
But anyway, that was almost 17 years ago. No, yeah, a long time ago.
Okay.
So real quick, before we go, talk about the relationship between a photographer and a reporter and how important that is. Because when I was in college, they gave you the assignment and then you had to work with like a group, like a producer, the reporter, the photographer, and almost 99% of the time, one person ended up doing most of the work. And that kind of translates to the real world, right? When you're working with a photographer. How important is that balance, you think?
Well, I don't want to step on too many toes here. I liked working with reporters. I really do. But if I had to choose, I'd rather choose not to work. I'd rather be by myself. But, you know. And
that's funny because I feel the same way.
You know, that's like.
I'd rather work by myself.
Yeah, and you can. You know, we both can. That's just it. You know, we're both capable. And like there's positions out there that's specifically for that. And I don't know if some people would rather work with a reporter or not, or a reporter with a photog, but I would rather work by myself. But, you know, when you're paired with a reporter, I mean, it's a relationship. I mean, you are in the car with them or in the van with them for 10 hours some days, long days. And I think the trick is you got to be, number one, you got to be professional. You know, you got to come to work ready to work, and you have to know what you're doing. You know, like you have to trust them, and they have to trust you that they're going to get their job on time, their role done, so you can finish your role, and vice versa. And there just has to be just a level of trust. And you know, you gotta be respectful with each other. You gotta be respectful towards each other. And you know, it's just like it really becomes just like any other work office relationship at that point, you know. But you're in the car together, and you know, sometimes like I was with reporters that like wanted to blast the AC, and I'm like, I don't like that sound of like level 4 in my ear. I just like it's like no, it's like we don't have to listen to music, but like we don't need the friggin' blasting AC. It's like
the AC on. It's hot back here.
Yeah. And I get it. They don't want to be hot. I get it, you know, but like, I'm just like that noise. Maybe I've got sensitive hearing. I don't know. But like stuff like that, that's just office stuff though. And like, that's just work related stuff, you know, but I guess it's a little bit different dynamic because I mean, I've worked with probably, like 40, maybe plus different reporters on different stories. I've been out in the field with 40 reporters probably. When I say work with them, I mean we started the day together and we finished the day together 8.5 hours later, 9 hours later, you know? So it's just crazy, this stuff that I've done thousands of stories with them. And, you know, it's just, you just have to be cool, I guess. And they have to be cool too. You know, you have to be cool. I mean, like I'm sure people have gotten frustrated at me. I kind of wonder what people have gotten frustrated me about. I wonder, but I know what I got frustrated other people about. But
that's another episode.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 4 years later, we're still talking. We're still friends. So that's good, right? That's cool. Well, Jason LiVecchi, thank you so much for spending some time with me here on the podcast.
Right on. Carlos Tonight.
You're always welcome.
Thanks.
God bless you.
God bless you. And this is goodbye.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, right on.
And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for watching. This episode was written and produced by yours truly, Carlos Correa. My theme was performed by Sken Galis. Remember, check me out at CarlosTonight.com. There you can find more information about the podcast and see upcoming guests. Carlos Tonight is brand new every other Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. And don't forget to visit our website, CarlosTonight.com.